My name is Beth Phillips. I'll be 56 years old in July, and I live in Brooksville, Florida. It's been just over a year now. I was detoxed in March of last year. My drinking, I think, started in response to the fact that I was home alone a lot. And I'm not going to blame anybody for that, but at the end of the day, I can remember having a perfect house, everything cooked on the stove, and sitting home and waiting for, my husband to come home, and reading a book. One day I decided a glass of wine would be a good thing to do. So I took a sip of wine, and next thing you know, the bottle was gone. My life had progressed to the point where every day I was doing that, and once in a while I would look up and say, wow, this isn't good, I need to stop this. I know as time went on, I became increasingly aggressive and a little bit more hostile and a lot more defensive. I think I did a lot of screaming at my daughters, because on the flip side of this drinking aspect, we learned later, which I did learn from Dr. Spinagle, that a lot of this drinking had to do with getting my brain to settle down and shut up. It was the only thing that actually gave me some peace and stopped my brain from racing. So this was the beginning of what I considered a really serious incident with wine. There were several times that I think I realized that I needed help, but one stands out in my mind the most probably is when I had an injury and I had been taking prescription painkillers for that injury, and although they never made me feel like anything, important or special, I would say combined with the wine, they became a little bit on the lethal side. And I do remember one night walking out of a pizza restaurant and with the owner and my husband and falling into the bushes and not knowing how it happened, why it happened, but I remember being so incredibly embarrassed that I immediately burst into tears, and then I shut down. And for 3 days I couldn't speak. I was so trembled inside and just so horribly embarrassed that I'd actually done that. Out of the blue, I remember reading or seeing a program on the ABC Action News about something else, and for some wild reason that night at 3 o'clock in the morning, I got on their ABC Action News website, and there was the story of Dr. Spinagle and what he did. And it was like God just spoke up and said, there you go, you wanted an answer, there's your answer. And I made the phone call the next day. When I first came to the Florida Detox and Wellness Institute, I was immediately struck by the fact that they weren't judgmental, that they had seen people like me before. I was worried I was going to be judged, I was going to be, labeled, a drug addict and an alcoholic, and that made me a little bit nervous. I saw LaTanya's wonderful face the minute I walked in. She gave me an instant sense of peace. She was friendly, she was kind. And I walked away thinking, I really can do this. I really can do this, because these people were giving me hope. I mean, real hope. Day 4 was my breaking point day. I was very aware of where I was and what was going on. And I'll share a story with you that was unusual. I remember looking out the window, and it was just a dreary, drizzly day. And for the first time in forever, I woke up and nobody needed me. And I tried to feel something. I tried to conjure up the thought even of a drink and what that would feel like. Or, sometimes you look for a trigger to see if you still have it. I guess that's what I was doing. So I sat there and I envisioned myself drinking a glass of champagne, and I couldn't. I had nothing. It was like it had been totally blocked out of my memory. And I thought, whoa, this is really something, because I can talk myself into anything, believe me. And I was real surprised by that. So I thought, I wonder what a tramadol would feel like. Remember when you would take the tramadol and you would have the wine, it would be all, nothing came to my mind. And I remember just sitting there thinking, this really did do what they said it was going to do. Kathy came in and she said, good morning, sunshine. And I burst into tears. And like a little child, I sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. And I think it was like a big release. All the guilt, because believe me, whether you want to say, this is okay to do, or, it's my life, leave me alone, there is an intrinsic guilt inside you when you know that you've wrecked other people's lives with your drinking and, doing your drugs. And sometimes that is when God will take hold of you and hold you so tight. And he brought Kathy over to me, and she sat down and she held me and she patted my back, and I was so ashamed. I was so ashamed because I'm a strong person and I'm the one everybody else goes to, and I was ashamed because I had let it get that far, and I was deeply ashamed that a stranger was holding me, and even though she didn't feel like a stranger, that it was pretty sad. And I remember her just talking to me and saying, Beth, 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 you're here, you've made it, you're doing great. Don't let this, bother you. It's normal, because when you let all that guilt, you let all that shame out, and you let God do what God does, the blessings are absolutely, pretty phenomenal. It's a miracle. That's the best way I can describe it. It is a true miracle what they've accomplished. And through God's grace and just the fact that Dr. Spinaglia really has worked hard to understand people's bodies and brain connection, wow, wow. I have my life back. That's what I want to say. I have my life back. In fact, let me rephrase that and say I have a better life than I had even when I wasn't drinking and drugging. I know who I am. I am so balanced in my heart and my brain and my body. People say, I want what you have. I want what you have. And there's only two things that I got that maybe somebody doesn't have. I have God in my life, and I've always had God in my life, but He has really touched me through these people because they have God in their lives. I don't care how many detox places you've been to. I don't care how many times you've tried and failed. This, my friend, is your last stop. This is the last time you will ever have to wake up sick and tired of being sick and tired. This is the last time you will have to get in your car and run across town to find what you need for your addiction. This is the last time you'll have to hope you make it home from driving home drunk. This is the last argument you'll go through with your family about your drinking and your addiction. This is your last stop. Go for it. Don't waste another second. Get your life back. It's never too late to have a happy childhood.